Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your very first time, welcome. I'm Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid, and today's video we're going to be taking a look at my top 5 Oracle deck releases for 2020. So these decks, to the best of my knowledge, were all released in 2020. So, and I'm going to kind of go in the order of, it's really hard, you guys, order of, I'm not going to say least, but number 5 to number 1, with number 1 being my favorite. And then there is going to be an honorable mention. So it's a total of 6 decks because of the honorable mention. So let's get right into it. In spot number 5, it's one of the more current purchases, but I have been enjoying it. It is the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle by Giada Rose. Now this is a wonderful rock pool publication, and it is beautiful. I haven't had it all that long to really deep dive, and I've been playing with it for a little bit, and I love this deck. It has a great guidebook. The only thing I would have to say that I wish that this deck had more cards in it, because the illustrations are wonderful. Now, they are a glossy cardstock. I do have a full unboxing on my channel, by the way. Typical rock pool or hay house oracle size deck. Glossy, thin, easy to shuffle. But look at the wonderful red gilding. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more, just so we can get a little bit closer look. But this deck has been so wonderful to work with. And I love the little phrases for each card. I just wish that there were more. It's not a huge, let me see, how many cards does it say on the back of the box? It's only 44 cards, and I generally like my Oracle decks to have at least 50, if we're being picky. Because 40, 44, 42, as they sometimes come, feels a bit thin, but I love this deck. The illustrations on here are just otherworldly, and they do take you to another place. And as someone who is exploring witch magic and energy, it has been really fun to study with, to kind of adopt that energy. I wish I had this, during Samhain to work with, but it took me a little while to decide to get it, but I am so glad I did. Looking at the unboxings, I didn't know if I would bond with this deck, but I think this is going to be a deck that's going to be in heavy use going forward as I navigate where my spiritual practice is going to go in the next year. It's a beautiful, just the writing in the book by Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz, I totally resonate with. And the little phrases at the bottom of each card. Look at how beautiful this is. Something very primal and simple about these images. So that is the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle, illustrated by Giada Rose. Text book is by Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz. In the number 4 position, we have the Memento Mori Lenormand, an Oracle deck by Claire Goodchild. Now, Claire is the creator of the Antique Anatomy Tarot and the Arcana of Astrology, a new mass market astrology deck that you can easily get off at the Amazon or where books are sold. Now, the thing I love about this deck as it's both a Lenormand, and I kind of keep those separated, the Lenormand cards, and then the Oracle. There's like, I believe, 88 cards in the total deck. And if you didn't know, I believe at the end of January, Claire is releasing 2 extension packs for this deck, and it looks really cool. So keep on the eye, look at her website, the end, Black and the Moon, her website. So for that, if you have this deck already. Now, this follows the same vein very much. The artwork, the style, the colors of her antique anatomy, and I find that it is a very, very good companion to that tarot deck, which I love, love, love. The cardstock is better than the original release of the Antique Anatomy. This is more like close to like Llewellyn cardstock, easy to shuffle, but sturdy, has a core in it. And now I see that the new releases of the Antique Anatomy has this cardstock as well. But I love Claire's aesthetic. I love this, the distressing on the cards, just the simple skull and crossbones. I have a full walkthrough of this deck in my on my channel. Some people resonate with this imagery, some people don't. I love anything Edwardian, Victorian, old. You know, before COVID, I just loved going through antique shops, picking up oddities here and there. And this is what this deck reminds me of, that days of yore. Things that I love. Yeah, it's not everybody's jam, but I do resonate with this deck and her Antique Anatomy. And I use it quite a bit. And actually, you think that it might be just very rigid as to what it will read with, but I found that it not only works well with the Antique Anatomy, but with a number of decks. I love Claire's writing too, and if you aren't aware, she has a podcast of short snippet episodes going over the symbology of this deck. I don't know, she has 15 or 20 episodes up already. It's done with actors and music, and it's really, really well done. So if you are a fan of Claire Goodchild, I would strongly advise you, I love the poppet, to check out her podcast. So that is the Memento Mori, Lenormand, and Oracle deck. And I use both, and once in a while I will mix up the cards and make one big deck. But for now, you know, usually I read them separately. Number 4 on the list is Messages from the Mermaids by Karen Kay with artwork by Linda Olson. Again, this is another deck that only has 44 cards, and I wish it had more because I love this deck. It's a Hay House publication. It is beautiful imagery. The backs are so beautiful. Look at this. 2 complaints. The one I just said, I wish there were more cards than just 44. And the other thing is I wish they had done the cardstock with the really nice matte cardstock that other Hay House newer publications have come out with. But, you know, it's not a deal breaker at all. And the reason why this is a favorite, for it being such a fantasy deck, it's mermaids, this deck is so wonderfully diverse in race and in body type. And you wouldn't think it would be, but it really, really is. It's got great keywords. The book is good. Look at that. The images are just lovely. For a fantasy deck, I think this is one of the tops. Really, really one of the tops. And I work with this quite a bit with my Mermaid Tarot. The deck by Lisa Robertson. But look at this. I think I've mentioned in another video that this is like Anna Nicole Smith vibes, and I'm dating myself. If you are younger and do not know who she is, you can look her up. Images, you can find her easily. No longer with us. It's very sad. But look at this. Very, very simple with the keywords. I think usually the keyword and the image, they correspond very, very well. This deck was very inexpensive. I picked it up in a Hay House sale. I think I paid $9 or $10 for it when it came out, not long after it came out. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful deck. And I'm so happy I have it in my collection. The images, yeah, I can lose myself in them. In just looking. Oh, look and see, there's a little sea turtle. I have a full unboxing of this deck, but as you can see, I'm just flipping through all the cards because I want you to be able to see. And one positive, you know, there's not many males, but the males that are in here, you know, instead of strong or, you know, whatever hero, it's this one is gentleness, which is a positive for this. There's the move forward. Yeah, there's not many males, but I do like the male energy that's in here. So that is the Messages from the Mermaids by Karen Kay with artwork by Linda Olson. And I can't recommend this enough. If you are into fantasy imagery, watery imagery, mermaids, this has to be in your collection. And it's great value too. All right, you guys, number 2 in my top Oracle decks, Oracle deck releases for 2020, it's going to be, this is number 2, the Morning Calm Oracle. I think I've got it upside down. I do. And this is by Ciolo, I'm going to get her name right, Keller? Yes, C.O. Keller. I'm thinking of Ciolo Thompson. Different person. This is C.O. Keller. And this was a Kickstarter deck, and I haven't had it very long, but it is quick becoming a favorite. And just so you can see the box. I do have a full unboxing of this on my channel as well. Those are the backs. Wonderful, wonderful cardstock. It is edged in this matte gold. And you can see, look at those backs. This is a wonderful, wonderful deck. And when I first got it, I could not put it down. I could not stop looking with it. And I got this deck to go with my, what is it? My Bhutan Tarot, which I think is one of the most beautiful tarot decks to come out this year. One of them. I mean, it's hard to choose. It's like trying to pick one of your children. I worked with this deck so much. It's a very calming deck, and I find that I'm looking for decks that have kind of an Asian aesthetic. And when this showed up on Kickstarter, and actually I was turned on to it by watching Celestial Esther's account on Instagram. She is one of the Wildly Tarot ladies who lives in South Korea. And I guess South Korea is known as the land of the morning calm before everything gets busy. This cardstock is sumptuous. And then with the watercolor, the artwork, it's so beautiful and I love it so much. As you can see, just beautiful. This does also read well with the Sacerdote Tarot that I have. Look at this, it's just beautiful. I can't say enough good things about this deck. I don't know if it's still available. I would assume on her website she may have copies available. I want to see, I put this in order. I try to remember. As a part of my cleansing ritual, I put my decks in order. And there's some extra cards that you use. They're non-numbered. But there are 45 cards and then these extra ones that you use with kind of a system that they have with this. You can also use those as altar cards, but this is the Morning Calm Oracle, and I can't say enough good things about this one. Number 1 Oracle deck release for 2020. Now, this deck was originally released a while ago, the Awaken Soul Oracle by Ethany, but this is the deck that was released in 2020. There have been changes to the cards, so it even says released in 2020 in the book. So I know the original was released some time ago, but there have been changes to the cards. There's a nice book. I don't have the original. I would like the original because I love this deck so much. And there are the beautiful backs, the black backs with the bees. Again, this is a great all-around deck. Reads with almost any deck perfectly, any tarot deck. I love how the keywords and the artwork correspond with one another. I love the vibrancy. She does have some diversity in the deck, and of course it has a mermaid card in it, so many of you are familiar with this deck, but this is the newer release for 2020. And I wish I had the original one that, you know, I could put a side-by-side on my channel, but I don't. I should look for one. I'm not even sure how many cards were changed. I don't know if it was just a few, if it was a good chunk of them. I don't know. Like this one, I think, was from the original. But this artwork is just stunning. And all of Ethany's decks, you know, she really, really pulls out all the stops for quality of cardstock. They're all, you know, gilded. The boxes are wonderful, clamshell. And they're not the most expensive indie decks out there. There's definitely decks that are way more expensive, and you just get top quality with her, and it's wonderful. I'm trying to see. Danielle Mulligan is the artist of this deck. Sometimes, you know, I feel the artist gets I love this card. gets shafted sometimes because their names are not always in the front of the box. And I know it's a marriage between the creator's vision and the artist's bringing that vision to life. So it, you know, both are so important. So this is my number one pick, my most used, I would say it's my most used oracle. It's available still on Ethany's website. I'm thinking of even getting maybe a second deck because I know I never want to have this oracle deck out of my collection. I need to have it always. So now we are going to go to my one honorable mention. This is my honorable mention because it is more of a self-care deck. It is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle by Jill Pyle. Now, this came out as an indie version. The cards were much smaller. It came in a tuck box, and that came out maybe a couple of years ago or so, but this is the 2020 version by Hay House. And I picked it up this year. Very inexpensive deck, especially if you get it on sale from Hay House when they have their wonderful sales. But I just love the imagery. I love the colors. There's something about lavender and these pastels that is oh so calming. And it's fun to work with this deck and try to, you could use this deck for journaling. And also the calls to action here. Just some of them are just very simple. And I found when I use this, you know, when I picked my daily tarot cards and then I pick one of these, I would try to do one of the things here that was called for. Though maybe not that right now. But I love the imagery so much. I found the imagery and the keywords or the call to action just fit very, very well. And these are easy things to do. I have some decks where maybe the call to action or the magic, sometimes it's labeled as magic, you know, you don't have a lot of the materials in your house unless you are maybe already a well-established practicing witch or a kitchen witch, or you are very into plants and herbs. These things you can easily do. Find alone time. You can look for fairies, though the easiest place for me to find them are in my decks. You can do a grounding practice. Connect with your womb. You don't need any special, I mean, of course you can make it, use some magic, you know, a ritual practice, but, and see right here, health checkup. You can schedule your eye appointment, your dental appointment. You can easily take a walk. You can easily write a gratitude list. We all have paper, we all have pens and pencils. You can bake yourself a sweet treat or buy one. We can all create art. You know, even if you just have crayons and a coloring book, you know, you don't need a lot of stuff to do these forms of self-care. You can use your hands. So many of us are crafty. Some of us crochet. Some of us draw. Some of us, even if you do origami, you know, you don't need, you can find things in your house. You can all move. Everybody can move. We can make a meal. And most of us, I would venture to say, have some, you know, a certain amount of crystals around us. And if you don't have any crystals, there are plenty of rocks. And I would say that's even more primal and natural. Positive affirmations. clean your space. We can all do that. So that's why I'm saying this is an honorable mention. It's so, the practices and the calls to action are so easily accessible, and that's why I love this deck. Some of my other self-care decks, you know, they require this, and you need to have mugwort, and you need to have this and that, and I don't have that at this point in time. And so I find this deck very, very accessible, and I think for the masses who want to practice self-care, journal, do these calls to action, it's a very, very accessible deck. So that is my honorable mention. So that is it. That concludes my video of my top Oracle releases for 2020. And I will be back really soon to take a look at my top released indie decks and my top released mass market decks for 2020. So with that, I will leave you, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. Bye for now.